I am recording. All right, so we're going to do something a little bit interesting. One, I have the great ByronGiant, the magnificent ByronGiant, my tag team partner at life, and we're going to be talking about WrestleMania. Say hi to the people, Byron.
What up, gangsters?
All right, those of you who don't, do you want me to link your YouTube channel in the description?
Yeah, might as well. Who cares?
All right, we'll do that.
You're gonna be horrified, but whatever.
He does, let's see, we got some mixed martial arts stuff, we got the Ballet of Violence, we got some Fish Tank stuff, we got some beer reviews, we got some World of Tanks gameplay, a couple other games mixed in. So if you're interested in any of that, go to Byron's channel. It's awesome.
If you want to hear me talk shit while drunk about things, then go ahead. That's what's up.
Today, and I'm not drunk. Was I supposed to be drunk for this?
It'd help, but I mean,
we don't have the booze on hand, my friend. All right, we're talking about WrestleMania here. What number is this WrestleMania? 33? Yeah. The ultimate thrill ride.
I've decided it's going to be the ultimate thrill seekers.
Absolutely terrible.
Yeah, and everybody for the last, like, it feels like forever, but everybody for the last 2 months has been having their match and pointing up for an extended period of time at the WrestleMania sign that's hung at every event, and we're supposed to be subtly hinted towards maybe there's a pay-per-view coming up, while they say the ultimate thrill ride 93 times every 2 minutes.
It used to be that they only really did the that at the Royal Rumble, but yeah, it's become terrible.
Listen, WrestleMania sells itself. All you have to need to do is put matches on the card.
Pretty much. I mean, it's a massive event. People go to it. But enough of us ragging on the concept of WrestleMania. Let's move on to the card.
I could rag for a bit more, but
we could. We'd be here all night, though. We'd be here all night. Okay, so we're using the match order courtesy of WWE.com right now. That doesn't mean it's definitive, but it's the closest thing we have to a definitive match. So we got 3 matches on the kickoff show, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 matches on the main card. I thought there were supposed to be 14 matches. Did I miscount?
There are, according to Wikipedia, there are 13 matches total. I don't know if... Oh, yeah, there are.
Okay, so 3 on the undercard, 10 on the pay-per-view or the WWE Network, however you're going to be seeing this.
Yeah.
Let's kick it off on the kickoff show with the WWE Cruiserweight Championship match. Neville, the champion, versus Austin Aries. Your thoughts, Mr. Byron?
My thoughts are that this should not be on the undercard. This is the match of the night. End of story. Let me scroll really. No, well, okay, hold on. We got later on. We got Jericho Owens. It's between Jericho Owens and this match. Everything else is running a distant fourth. I think they should open with the Battle Royal, but then again, I've been kind of conditioned by New Japan in the last 6 months to expect things.
To expect a Battle Royal?
Well, not even to expect a Battle Royal, but to just like have things booked in a proper manner. Like have something that everybody can pay attention to and enjoy. You should not be having the potential best match of the night on the kickoff show, and B, first it's the curtain jerker. Come on, son. Thoughts on the actual match? For future booking purposes, I would probably not have Aries win, because you got to have something for the big face to chase. Short term, I would totally put Aries over as the new champ, because he's the guy that can bring 205 Live up like 6 or 7 notches in short order. I'm, if you can't tell by now, looking forward to this one specifically, basically because it's Pac versus Austin Aries. Oh, I'm sorry, we're using Neville. Sorry. I can see why they changed his name, but to Neville? Neville? Okay, whatever.
In fairness, it was Adrian Neville. I don't really get the whole idea of dropping first names. Like, I was a fan of, like, Adrian Neville and Antonio Cesaro as opposed to Cesaro and Neville. Not really a big fan of the one name thing.
To be fair, Cesaro suits Castagnoli a lot better than it does like a full name. But it's kind of like I don't know. It's like he is kind of like that super spy, sort of a elite dude that just one name will do.
I
But
suppose.
wow, ranting and raving and rambling. I'm looking forward to this one. I think that Aries will go over. I think that Aries long-term good booking strategy should not go over because you want to establish Neville for something. I'm assuming that they're going to be using 205 Live to move people onto the main roster, even though a lot of 205 guys wrestle for like 30 seconds every week on the main roster anyway.
Yeah, that's terrible.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that Neville retains here, but the finish is not entirely clean. I don't mean like a DQ or anything like that, but there's something I think that allows Aries to go back after the title again.
Yeah.
I think that when it comes down to it, as much as the hardcore fans would see Austin Aries as elevating the cruiserweight title a bit more, Neville's been on the main brand for a lot longer. He's a lot more recognizable to the casual fan. And I think if you want to establish the cruiserweight division, I think you need that familiarity. We kind of saw that with TJ Perkins and even Brian Kendrick, that they struggled to really get that belt over because the WWE's fan base has been conditioned for such a long time that we don't really care about anything that's not WWE. So why should we care about you, a guy who's never been in the WWE in Perkins, and then Kendrick, who had been away for really, really long time, and when he was here, wasn't really
Yeah.
even though Brian Kendrick is a fantastic wrestler, great on the mic as well. I'm incredibly disappointed with how the cruiserweight division has been going. Keep the title on Neville. He's working amazingly well as a heel. Let Aries keep doing the chase. And I'm not even sure if Aries is the guy I want to take the belt off of him, because Aries, I think, has always worked better as a heel. So
I would, if I might put my own guy forward, I would say Cedric Alexander would be the guy. Like, why? I know that apparently he's now injured, and I didn't know this. I don't know how long ago he got injured for, and I have no idea why he wasn't immediately in the title picture.
well, he didn't win the Cruiserweight Classic, got it eliminated. Not like particularly early. I think Final 8, I want to say.
Neither did fucking Neville.
Well, Neville wasn't even in it, but Neville is like, he's a WWE superstar. That precedes everything. This is how WWE works. We know this. But I wouldn't disagree. Cedric Alexander is champion. It's gonna happen someday. I just think that it needs a proper build.
It's gonna be him versus Ricochet at some point for the title.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm intrigued. Women's championship match on SmackDown. Alexa Bliss versus everybody on the SmackDown roster.
Officially listed on Wikipedia is her opponents are Becky Lynch, Natalya, Mickie James, Carmella with James Ellsworth, Naomi versus others TB Anus.
Yeah. This match, I mean, parts of it I think will be good, but parts of it will be not great. I think they're going to do this as like a gauntlet match, which there's always a bit of problems there. You got to space it out. You can't really have long segments, so it's not going to be very good. I would have Alexa retain through nefarious means, because I don't think you take the belt off of a heel and put it on a face via this manner. Like, the deck is stacked against the heel. This is not the time to crown a babyface champion. And I think a heel taking the belt off of Alexa Bliss is just, at best, a lateral move. So I would keep the belt on her, but have her kind of minorly cheat to win to a degree.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. I'm more in favor of sort of a dominant champion. I think this title desperately needs a dominant champion to carry the division. Alexa Bliss, for all of her qualities, physical or otherwise, I would I would put the belt on the veteran Mickie James or Natalya. Apparently, the word on the street is that they're just going to hand it back over to Naomi. Is it? I don't.
She did lose the title due to injury, so that would make a level of sense. But again, a face winning with this kind of situation, it just falls flat to me.
Yeah, because does anybody give a shit about Naomi? Apparently, she's been in the company. Like, hold on, let me look this up here. He's been in the company for 7 years now. Does anybody know or care about her?
I think she has a fan base. I think that compared to some of the other women in this match, though, no. I mean, I think she's a smaller star, someone who could be built up. I mean, she has a tremendous athletic ability. If she could clean up the ring psychology just a little bit, I think she could be a fantastic wrestler. She's not bad on the mic either, not bad on the eyes. She has kind of everything you need, but I think, yeah, a proper build for her has never really occurred. And to put the title back on her at WrestleMania, I think it's a mistake. Although the fact that this is on the kickoff show is really, really in my craw because you've got the other women's title on the main show. And if we're not supposed to believe that Raw is the superior brand, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, everything about Raw is better than SmackDown, which is not because I prefer SmackDown a lot right now. That being said, if we're supposed to believe in this brand warfare idea, this brand competition, then what storyline is it that SmackDown agreed to have their top women's belt on the pre-kickoff show while Raw got theirs on the main card? I mean, in fairness, the Raw one is going to be a lot better. It's a multi-women match, which also we'll get to that later, but it will probably be better than this, but still.
My real question is, why is there even a pre-show?
Getting more time and making it a reason to buy the network.
I guess so, but you get the whole thing for free on the network anyway if you signed up, because you get a 30-day free trial, and you get the whole thing for free, and you just make the whole thing one big pay-per-view, and therefore nothing's on the pre-show, and then nothing's devalued, and why would they do this?
They just want to make it longer without actually extending the length of the pay-per-view, I guess. I mean, anyway, we're obviously not going to agree with a lot of what they do. So I have Alexa Bliss retaining. You have Naomi?
I would prefer. Well, they're obviously just going to hand it back to Naomi, but
Okay.
I would prefer that Mickie James or Natalya took the title and actually did something. Actually, not so much Natalya because she's really boring on the mic and she's a one-note character and it's really garbage. But she's a really great wrestler. I would probably myself put it on Mickie James, and then you can do Asuka versus Mickie James, because they had a really great match on NXT at some point, and I can't remember what show it was.
It was one of the takeover shows, but yeah, that was fantastic. I keep it on Bliss and use her as a not tremendously long-term champion, because as a dominant champion, she's kind of weak in that regard just because of how small she is.
Yeah.
But I would have a face defeat her for the title at a moment that feels face-like, which this would not be it.
I would give her the almost Taz-like gimmick. She's like, the 5 feet of fury. Like, sure, but you're not furious, so do something furious.
I don't know. Her personality is really good. Like, I if she was bigger, I would be incredibly bullish on her.
Yeah, but I don't know. She's like the 5 feet of snotty little bitch.
Okay, so we're on to the 4th annual Andre the Giant Battle Memorial, or Memorial Battle Royal. Pardon me. Go.
Well, okay. So the breakdown on the match here is from Raw. We have this is a co-Raw SmackDown thing. From Raw, we have Big Show, Strowman, Goldust, R-Truth, Primo, and Epico, Curtis Axel, aka the impressive Pelvis Wesley.
No, that's Slater.
Is it Slater? Well, they're both.
Yeah, Curtis Axel. No, he's not Pelvis Wesley.
Same guy. Jinder Mahal, Sami Zayn. From SmackDown, we have Mojo Rawley, Apollo Crews, and Kurt Hawkins. That seems a little lopsided.
It's a little bit lopsided, yeah. Who you got winning, and what are your expectations?
Since Show's saying that this may be his last WrestleMania, I would give it to him over. It would be him versus Strowman at the final 2, and I would give it to Show. That way, I mean, you make Strowman look strong, but you give Show his win back over Strowman. I don't know that, like, there's nothing for the Golden Truth or the Shining Stars to ever do because they're garbage. mainly because of R-Truth. I've always looked kind of like Goldust. Curtis Axel and Kurt Hawkins should team up and become like the Ginger Ninjas or something like that. And it's a total fucking waste of time to have Sami Zayn and honestly also Big Show in this match. I think Sami Zayn should be, if you don't want to give him a main title, he should be in the U.S. or Intercontinental title picture right now. So I don't know why he's even there. But Show's going to win or should win. I'm hoping that Mojo Rawley does well. I kind of like his whole jacked up character, just being a total, just like almost caffeine freak type dude. I like
I've been reasonably impressed with him. I was disappointed when they called him up when they did, and he's overperformed in my estimation.
Yeah.
I could see Braun Strowman, Sami Zayn, or Big Show winning this. Those are the only three that are really worth talking about. I'm going to say I give it to Strowman. The reason being is that, yes, this is Big Show's last Mania, possibly, but I think Big Show's a man who believes in the tradition of losing at your last show.
Could be.
And I see him being the last eliminated by Strowman picking up the win, Strowman the monster, etc. The other option I could see is Sami Zayn somehow eliminating Strowman last and having that big David and Goliath moment that honestly has been kind of set up for a while, but it's not where I would go with it. I would try to rebuild Strowman a little bit after him losing to Roman Reigns, which did not, bury him, as some people have suggested, but it does definitely weaken the monster. So
yeah,
rebuild a little bit.
We should probably do like at least a good 3 hours on how they've completely fucked up Roman Reigns. But yeah.
My God, we need more time.
Jeebus Creebus. As a dark horse, I would say Bo Dallas, because I really want them to do something with him, and then they could have a Wyatt v Wyatt feud.
Oh, that would be sweet.
They could have both. This could be the beginning of a good push for him to get him into the same league as Bray Wyatt. Anybody doesn't know they're brothers, and then you could have you could really have like a dark side versus light side of the force type battle of just charisma type dudes, and then long term it turns out that they were actually working together or something like that. I think that would be good. That would be what I would do, but then again, Vince McMahon's 93,000 years old and doesn't know reality.
I'd be down for that as a fourth option, I guess. Yeah. Raw Tag Team Championship match, triple threat. This is opening up the pay-per-view portion of the card, the main card. Champions Gallows and Anderson defend against Enzo, Amore, and Big Cass, and Cesaro and Sheamus. I've got this being Enzo and Big Cass's kind of achieving moment. It's WrestleMania. You need a face to have like a pretty big moment here, and there's no one else on the card that really makes that happen.
Yeah, Bayley.
Like Bayley's already the champion. Like if Bayley wasn't the champion, there you go. But
exactly,
she is already the champion. I would have Enzo and Cass go over here. Should be a pretty good match. I mean, Gallows and Anderson are fantastic workers. Cesaro and Sheamus are really good workers. I think Sheamus is actually one of the more underrated workers in the company, to be honest.
I would agree. I really, anybody, just as a kind of a background on me, I really kind of fell off wrestling after a while because it was brutally insulting to my intelligence. You had JR, by God, mudhole, stop a mudhole. He broke about half, stop the damn batch. And then you had the King just yelling titties all the time.
Puppies.
And same fucking thing. And then you had the same matches in the same month every year, year after year. You can plug different people into them, but it was always the same thing. I could literally predict every single card of every single match without fail, and I stopped watching. That being said, I forgot where I was even going with this.
Sheamus.
Damn it, Sheamus. I've totally missed out on the vast majority of Sheamus's career up until the last year. I think I stopped watching, and then I noticed that there was some guy with tomato soup poured on his head involved, and they bleached his skin, and it was kind of gross. And they apparently, I heard a couple of years later that they put the title on him for no particular reason, and they did that badly, and stuff like that. And I am very impressed with Sheamus and especially teaming with Cesaro, who Castagnoli, I've followed his career, not probably the closest in the world in the last 4 or 5 years, but I've been, of the people involved with this match, I've seen Cesaro, aka Claudio Castagnoli, the most. I'm gonna pick the champs to retain in this particular match. Because they desperately need a strong champion for this belt. They don't have any. They took the title off of Kevin Owens, and he was the only champion they had. They've swapped the titles so many times. This particular one, this was the one the New Day held, right?
Yes, it was.
Okay, so they had the New Day hold the belts for well over a year.
New record-breaking reign.
I appreciated their amusement the first 2 times I saw them. I started watching kind of more regularly last WrestleMania, and they got old really really quick. I don't understand their appeal, and then they put the belts on Sheamus and Cesaro to drop them right away, and then they dropped it. The club hasn't held them ever since then, have they? Or was that the case?
I believe that is the case.
Okay, so they desperately need to have a strong champion, but they also need to grow their tag team division. So, I'm going to pick the champions to retain in this one because of my real dream booking, which we'll get to later on. The champions retaining in this match goes a long way towards my idea being a good one. My idea is a fantastic one, but whether or not it's something they're doing or not, I don't know.
Are you saying that this idea is for life?
It might indeed be towards more of the life, for or against. They really need to shit or get off the pot with Enzo or Big Cass, though. But my problem is that it's way too predictable that they put the titles on Enzo and Big Cass. I mean, Enzo and Big Cass have got the shit kicked out of them for months now. Months.
Problem is, you could argue that Gallows and Anderson have also had the shit beat out of them and retained the titles.
Oh, absolutely. Well, not just that, but they've booked them like dog shit for almost a full year before finally getting the titles on them, and letting them do what they can do, and interviewing them and giving them time on the mic. I like the doctor spots that they did. The doctor vignettes, those were funny.
They were funny, although I think they went maybe a little too long.
Well, possibly. But I mean, it's real obvious that the belts will probably be going to Enzo and Cass, but I think the champions should retain, and therefore I will predict the club to retain.
Okay. So we have the Intercontinental Championship match. It is your turn to go first with Dean Ambrose versus Baron Corbin.
Nobody fucking gives a shit about Baron Corbin, do they?
He's pretty popular right now.
Is he?
I like him. He's not bad. He's not great. Like there are some people I've heard that are like incredibly high on him, and I'm just like, I can't say I can get aboard on that, but like, not a bad worker for a big guy. His character comes through pretty well. I think probably because he just is an ass.
Well, here's the thing. They're pushing Baron Corbin regardless of anybody. So Baron Corbin's going to win. But they've done nothing to, like, he doesn't have any charisma. He's not in any kind of real shape that I would, like, I'm not impressed. If I see him slam somebody, I don't care. He's just a tall dude. I don't know what the name Baron Corbin is supposed to be, but the first time I heard it, I went, who? And still to this day, that's what lingers, is kind of a, who? Oh, that guy again. The guy who's going bald with kind of some tattoos and wears leather vests, but isn't Steve Austin.
I mean, I got him going over too, just because.
Yeah.
And I love John Moxley, aka Dean Ambrose, to use his independent name. Was a massive fan of him in CZW. I don't know. They've really lost their way with him, and I think
Yeah.
you almost have to get the belt off him to kind of reinvent him a little bit.
Well, I think they need to get the belt off him to free him up to do other things. He's one of the guys that I think the belt probably even holds him down because he's not one of those dudes who needs to be on the defensive. He's not one of those dudes who needs to hold on to a championship. He just needs to go after something.
He's a chaser.
Yeah, he needs to go after it. And titles are kind of secondary. If he's going to beat the shit out of the champ and get the title, cool. But it's going after the guy and beating the shit out of him that he needs, in my opinion. I think he's hilarious. CZW is not something I don't even think I've ever seen a CZW match.
I forced you to watch a cage death once.
Did you?
Yes, I did. It was not. You didn't enjoy it, really. It was garbage wrestling.
Fair enough. I'm sure there's some of it I would enjoy, but I don't remember. CZW's not something I'm in touch with.
I do believe you really liked the Kevin Steen and El Generico versus Super Dragon and Excalibur match.
Oh, fuck yeah. I enjoy the shit out of that. I just don't remember it a whole lot. But Baron Corbin's just got this who factor to him, and I don't care. So he's obviously going to win. And Ambrose needs to... I've got another kind of side thing going that they really need to do these two big moves that I think they should be doing. And we'll get to that a little later, I think. But Corbin should win. I just don't think he's going to be like a Randy Orton, whereas he's probably going to get a bunch of titles and no one's going to give a shit. And if you ask me like 3 years from now, how many Intercontinental titles does Baron Corbin had? And I'm going to answer, did he win one? I don't know.
I think you'll remember that he was a champion at some point, but yeah, the number will completely elude you.
Yeah.
I'm not excited for this match. I'm hoping it proves me wrong. Like, the build has actually been good for this match. It's just, I don't know. There's something about both guys, particularly Ambrose, that I just right now can't get behind.
Yeah, I don't know. They booked Ambrose to be smarter and tougher, but that's not going to matter. And they're going to put big guy, slam hard, get win.
U.S. title match, Chris Jericho, the champion, versus Kevin Owens. I've got Owens going over. Jericho is going away for a time period. I think you need to start remanufacturing, one, the steam behind Owens, and two, the steam behind the Triple H faction with Owens and Samoa Joe.
Yeah.
I think you put him over here.
Yeah. They're building
as over as Jericho is right now. He's leaving, so you got to take the belt off.
Yeah, they're building the indie evolution, so they've got to have gold to do that. That's the way Vince thinks, and
I would say he's not necessarily wrong.
I mean, it helps. It definitely helps, but it's not always necessary. I don't think there's any steam lost on Owens. I mean, there's a little shine gone because he got mowed down by Goldberg, and I was loving that match up until they actually made contact, and it was over in 9.5 seconds.
But that's all you can do with Goldberg at this point.
I was loving the psychology. I was loving, like, he had the crowd fucking apeshit crazy, and then Jericho came out and it was fucking nuts, and then it was over, and it was kind of like
Oh yeah, we both got Owens going over, so we both got the mid-card titles changing hands.
Yeah. I think that between Jericho, Owens, and the Cruiserweight title, I think those are going to be the matches of the night.
Yep.
If they give them enough fucking time. If they don't give Roman Reigns 90 minutes to squander, or John Cena in the mixed tag match.
Oh, please make that short. Please, sub 10 minutes. Sub 10 minutes, please, God. But we'll get there.
Yeah.
Okay, Raw Championship Fatal 4-Way Elimination match. We got Bayley defending against Charlotte Flair, Sasha Banks, and Nia Jax. It is your turn first, sir.
Sasha Banks will go over via cheatery. She will finally solidify herself as heel. I don't know if she's gonna have if Charlotte's gonna have a face turn. That seems impossible for their booking talent. I wouldn't put it past the actual talent in the ring to pull a double turn, but I don't think anybody in the office is A, can stand up to Vince being an idiot, and B, has enough brains to actually plan that shit out. Nia Jax will probably dominate, I would say, 2/3 of this match. And Bailey will have a big comeback to have Sasha do something dastardly, grab some tights. If she can fucking remember to do it right this time. Apparently, she was her versus Nia Jax was supposed to be another cheat victory, and she was supposed to grab the ropes, but she just didn't because brain damage. Does she necks herself every time she does a dive?
I've got a slightly more specific booking path here where I have Nia Jax dominating the early match. Sasha Banks and Bailey team up and eliminate Nia Jax to make her the first elimination.
Oh, it's elimination. I totally missed that.
Yeah.
They're...
And then what I have is I want the final two to be Sasha Banks and Bailey. I want Bailey to eliminate Charlotte. I want Sasha and Bailey final two. Sasha goes to give her like a handshake or a hug, friendly, whatever. Roll up, 1, 2, 3, boom. Sasha Banks is your new champion and a solid heel.
Handshake into the half dozen suplex.
I don't want her to like fully cheat because I think that's a little too far, but I think I want her to deceive Bailey.
Oh shit! The triple threat tag match is a ladder match. When did that happen?
I think it honestly changes nothing in that regard.
I honestly, did they literally? Oh, because there was one ladder involved in the last fucking little schlemazel on Raw.
Yeah.
Did they just insert that into? Okay, whatever.
Pretty much, yeah. I'm not overly intrigued to see any of those guys in a ladder match, really.
No, Cesaro.
It's not going to be bad,
no,
but
honestly, if you boil that all the way and you put Anderson versus Cesaro in a ladder match, you'd watch the shit out of that, wouldn't you?
I'd watch the shit out of Cesaro versus Anderson in anything, though. I mean, that's it's irrelevant.
That equals truth.
Okay, then we got the SmackDown Live Commissioner versus the phenomenal one, AJ Styles. Shane McMahon, AJ Styles. I know you want to talk about this, so go.
I have a cunning plan. All right, so I need and or desire Gallows and Anderson to retain so that they can come out to help their, and I'm doing air quotes, buddy AJ Styles in this match. And then Finn Balor's floating around. They tease that at, like, what was that, Survivor Series, I think? They teased that?
A little bit, yep.
Or no, when did he get injured? When was the Rollins match?
That was that SummerSlam? I believe that was SummerSlam.
Okay, so they teased it at SummerSlam that they were all hanging out in the back, and they're going to give him the too sweet, and was it Balor just kind of went, ha, I see you guys, and then he kind of walked off. But Balor, when he debuted, or when he re-debuted in a live event recently, was wearing a Balor Club t-shirt. And Gallows and Anderson have been wearing Bullet Club gear that doesn't say Bullet Club on it. And AJ Styles doesn't. So what I need is the Balor Club, or the club as it were, to come out and look like they're going to assist AJ Styles, and they're going to submarine him. They're going to Pearl Harbor the shit out of that guy. And Shane McMahon now becomes the new Eric Bischoff, thus setting up a face-heel kind of thing against him and Daniel Bryan. Thus, the club, aka the new world order, reestablishes themselves in a new federation somewhere. And that's what if I'm booking some shit and I've got a brain on my shoulders, that's what I'm doing. If we're just doing a non-interference straight up singles match, I need Shane to jump off like 2 or 3 things to look spectacular, and then AJ Styles hits him with, probably after they're exhausted, a really weak ass Styles clash, and then just gets the win.
I think option B is going to happen. I would love if option A would happen. Mind you, just a side note, the whole club thing with AJ Styles, I never really liked that they were like friendly with AJ when they came in, because those who watch New Japan are aware that Carl Anderson and Gallows, along with the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega and Cody Hall, beat the ever-loving crap out of AJ Styles and kicked him out of the Bullet Club. So the fact that they were ever friendly to me was a mistake.
Yeah.
And I am all for the forming of Balor Club. Yes, please. Yes, please. Please do that. I need that. I'm not 100% certain I really want Shane McMahon to be in it. I kind of want him to be like incidentally beneficial of this. But
No,
I'm not opposed to it.
I mean, the Vince is dead set on always having an authority figure, so he might as well get his win back against Bischoff by having somebody else be Bischoff, better than Bischoff was Bischoff. And that gives AJ Styles a face turn, and that gives AJ Styles something to do for the rest of the year.
Yep. I'm 100% behind that plan. I think plan B is going to happen. They're going to have a decently long match. Shane's going to jump off some shit, get Styles clashed, and get beat.
Yeah. Honestly, I'm not. I think this match is going to be a shitload better than people think it is going to be. I think Shane McMahon, and I messaged you about this like last week. I think Shane McMahon's got the best elbow drop in the game. It's like him and maybe a couple other people, maybe.
He's top 5.
Top 5 easily. I think he's the top 2 or 3, maybe the best. And I like to see it.
I mean,
kind of
this match could be fine. Don't get me wrong; it could be good. AJ Styles can drag a good match at anything. It just feels a little bit like a waste of AJ Styles if you're not going to do the Balor Club angle.
True.
And the problem is that apparently they really wanted Shawn Michaels to take this match up until relatively recently, and then they kind of threw the Shane McMahon together thing, which makes me doubt that Balor Club is going to happen.
Yeah, but they haven't done anything with Balor, and they haven't revealed anything, and I've seen some footage, and I'm leaning towards a certain way. I just hope that they do it at WrestleMania.
Those leads are there, and this is the place to do it. I just don't really have the faith in them to do it.
I'm just hoping that they do it here and not the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah, explain it after the Raw and WrestleMania. Don't do it on the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
All right, so non-sanctioned fight, Seth Rollins, Triple H. This match, when Triple H originally turned on Seth Rollins, I was very intrigued by this. And they have murdered it repetitively, beaten it over the head. Triple H is going to win because Seth Rollins is, quote, injured. And keep the whole Triple H faction with Samoa Joe, Kevin Owens strong. Have Joe interfere because you got to get Joe on this pay-per-view somewhere. And, yeah. So I got Triple H going over. The match, I think, will be fine. I mean, Rollins is an excellent worker. Triple H is a good worker. Not as good as, like, people within WWF will list him on, like, the Pantheon with Austin and Rock and so on. And I'm like, he was always cut below that.
Yeah, I mean, he had to be the top heel for over a decade because they didn't have anybody else.
Mm-hmm.
So, in a sense, yeah, he was a guy that carried the company for a long time. There were so many, not just faces, but stupendous faces, intergalactic faces.
Oh, yeah.
You couldn't, like...
Rock, Austin, Foley, Undertaker. I mean, geez.
So, he was the guy who had to do all of the dirty work for well over a decade. So yeah, I'd put him on that level. It's just that he wasn't the guy that drew the money. He was the guy that let the guy drawing the money draw the money, if that makes any sense.
Oh, totally. He's the guy who works with the guy.
Yeah. I'm going to do a little fantasy booking here, and if we know Baron Corbin's got the big push, so he's going to obviously beat Dean Ambrose. I would have Ambrose come out during this non-sanctioned thing and help Seth Rollins, and if they had put Roman Reigns versus Undertaker before this, I would have saying, hey, the whole Shield thing, I know virtually nothing about the Shield because I did not watch wrestling during that period of time, but they had a reunion at the Rumble. And
there's really only one thing you need to look up about the Shield is Roman Reigns' first face-to-face with Bray Wyatt. Check that out. That was great.
I will definitely investigate that.
But Bray Wyatt's great line of, "Aren't you an interesting creature?"
But they had a mini reunion at the Rumble, and They've got Seth Rollins cutting promos about how he wants to get back to the old Seth Rollins, which hopefully that involves him laughing a lot less because he's got the most.
Yeah, it's not great. Mind you, if we're going with the old Seth Rollins, I'd love to return of Tyler Black and bring me Jimmy Jacobs, who is a writer in WWE. Bring me Jimmy Jacobs.
Only if he's wearing the furry boots.
I'm down with that.
But this is a non-sanctioned match, and you got all three members of the Shield on the card. Do they do this here? Does Seth Rollins take the loss, and then in the Roman Reigns Undertaker match, which is that next?
No, 2 matches from now.
So a little later on in the night, you're gonna have Roman Reigns, the third member of the Shield, versus the Undertaker. Did they go full on heel and come out as the Shield and shit kick the Undertaker, and then who desperately needs to go have hip surgery? And then get the win that way, and therefore Roman Reigns finally, for God's sakes, goes heel because he's not getting over as a face, you fucking dipstick.
Pretty much.
Those are the 2 ways I see the match going. Either they have this kind of knockdown, drag-out fight, and then Triple H wins, or I think Rollins gets some interference help after some interference help on Triple H's behalf from Samoan Joseph and various other people.
I think, unfortunately, like we're really using this pay-per-view as the outcoming of Triple H's stable and potentially the club. Yeah. I just don't see this as the time to do the Shield heel turn.
True.
Although I do, admittedly, have a lot of heels winning on this card.
Yeah, I mean, isn't that what happened last year? Isn't WrestleMania where the heels come to play, sort of a deal?
Kinda. I was hoping
Vince McMahon doesn't understand.
Now, mind you, the faces are going over in this next one. John Cena and Nikki Bella versus The Miz and Maurice.
Oh yeah.
All I have to say is the following: I'm John Cena. I go over.
Yeah.
That's all there is to it.
Please, for God's sake, make this match as quick as possible. If we can get The Miz to like hang himself and die in the ring.
I like The Miz a fair bit more than you, but yeah.
He's got personality, he's got charisma, he has no wrestling talent. This guy hits lighter than a tissue paper. I watched him in a ladder match where he was afraid to touch the ladder. He kicked a guy, and I was waiting for him to finish the kick for the next 2 minutes because it went nowhere near the dude, and it was weak as fuck. It's so bad. He cannot wrestle. It's brutal. But he's great he's great at getting people to hate him. He's great at all that stuff. It's just, he's not a wrestler, unfortunately.
All right, moving on, because I don't think we really have a lot to say about that. We want it over quick. That's it. The Phenom versus the Big Dog. We got Undertaker, Roman Reigns. You're up first because I went first on the John Cena one.
You really should not have. Listen, if Roman Reigns wins this match by anything other than duplicitous means, his career's over.
It's not over because they will continue to push him because they will not listen.
Yeah, they will, but his career will be effectively over at this point. No one wants to see anyone beat The Undertaker at WrestleMania. No one wanted to see it the first time it happened, and people weren't shocked that it happened. People were just fucking mad.
You could get someone like a Daniel Bryan to beat him, and it would work. Yeah. Or Shawn Michaels the second time could have beat him.
Yeah, that would have been, or Kane at some point, or Mankind at some point back a ways back. That would have been okay. But, dear Lord, don't. What is it? Roman Reigns is like at least the third most hated wrestler. Not because he's hated, or not because he's a heel, just because people are.
Well, he's a face.
Exactly. And I understand that children and women buy a lot of his merch, but that's not. Honestly, that's not the demographic you're after.
Honestly, not even sure of that. Like, I never see Roman Reigns merch.
No.
Like, when John Cena was always being pushed, like, I saw John Cena merch. I had the proof. I don't see Roman Reigns merch.
No, not at all.
Maybe he does move a lot, but I don't see it.
Apparently he does sell a bunch, and it's just not ever anybody who wears it to the ring or anything like that. But, I mean, at this point, you've pushed Roman Reigns over literally you pushed him over your monster, Braun Strowman, because you're an idiot. How can you not push him over the Undertaker? At this point, you look like you're like the guy who's about to launch the nuclear weapons because you've made every other wrong decision at this point. So what's one more? I have to assume Roman Reigns is going to win because it doesn't make any sense for Vince to back down now. But Undertaker should win this match. I really want Undertaker to win this match. I'm okay with the Undertaker losing this match if, again, there's a giant like heel interference shit. But you're sealing, and I think Roman Reigns is a good wrestler. I think Roman Reigns can get over.
Yeah, he's an athletic big guy with a good look. He's actually not terrible on the mic when he's not having to remember terribly scripted stuff.
Suffer and succotash. But he's just dude, let him be his own thing. Fuck's sake, Vince, take his dick out of your mouth for like an eighth of a second. Shit. Goddamn.
My way I would book this. I would have Reigns go over and turn heel, but I wouldn't have the interference. I would go a different route.
Gotcha.
I want Roman to turn on the fans.
Yeah.
Because I think what really is annoying about is that he has the John Cena, you paid your money, you can boo however you want. That, I think, is the problem. I want him to go in there, and at the end of the match, have it be somewhat competitive, but at the end of the match, he just kills the Undertaker.
Go grab a chain and do the Superman punch.
Like, he goes full monster heel and looks at the crowd and just says, this is what you wanted. Destroy the Undertaker. You don't need the interference because you can build him as a monster heel because I think he has to be a monster heel.
Yeah.
But, like, no ambiguity. Roman Reigns is a heel.
Yeah.
Deal with it.
Yeah, he's not smart enough to be a duplicitous heel. He's not fast enough or explosive enough to be an athletic heel. He needs to be the monster, brutal power heel. And yeah, like if
now my actual prediction is Roman Reigns wins because he's a face. Because Vince is an idiot at this point.
Vince is 75 bajillion years old and hasn't seen dirt in a million years because everything he thinks of as dirt is now turned to dust due to erosion. That's a geology joke. It didn't go over at all.
You've had better. If I have
had better. But yeah, Roman Reigns will probably get the win because the push. But dear Lord, if you do it wrong, fuck, that kid's career is so over. It's over. There's no coming back.
Goldberg versus Lesnar. There's not a lot to break down here. Either Lesnar squashes Goldberg or Goldberg squashes Lesnar. I think at this point, I think we've established that Goldberg really doesn't. Yeah, we don't want a long match with Goldberg.
Yeah, honestly, I have not been able to see, since they've been doing the short-ass matches, I haven't been able to see him do much work. I'd love to hear through the rumor mill that he's been working at the Impact Center or whatever the fuck.
Performance Center.
Same thing. I would love to hear that he's been working out there and doing some stuff and getting back into it, and then they can have like a real longer match. But at this point, they've got a giant build-up to what should be an awesome match that they're not going to be able to have because reasons. And then after Goldberg has completely obliterated Brock Lesnar twice, he's going to then be in turn obliterated for no discernible reason, and the whole push falls apart. Yeah, that's pretty much how that's going to work. And it's going to be a giant anticlimax because everybody knows that Brock wants to get his win back. And yeah.
Yeah, I don't really care who wins this match, honestly. Because not a lot of good can come from it either way.
In a fantasy booking standpoint, I'd love to get Goldberg. Let Goldberg do it again. Just let him fucking blow him out of the water one more time, and then he can say he can come out on the Raw after WrestleMania and he can say, listen, I've had a great run. I'm officially retiring from the sport or whatever, and put the belt up for grabs and then they can make all kinds of new storylines added, like the tournament for the belt. Shit, they could hold that up in the air until fucking SummerSlam if they wanted to, and just have a long form tournament.
That'd be neat.
But,
I think Lesnar wins though. That's
yeah.
the Vince move.
Yeah, because Vince wants to have Lesnar. So since Roman Reigns can't get over to save his life, apparently the plan is to put Roman Reigns over everybody 7 or 8 million times, and then next year they're going to have Lesnar versus Roman Reigns again, and let him beat Lesnar again to see if he can get over again, and it's not going to work again.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Main event, although I personally think Undertaker or Goldberg Lesnar will go on last. Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton. I'm going to take this one first. What I want to have happen is I want Bray Wyatt to face turn, retain his belt, and really just work with it. Because the storyline, logically, has been that Bray Wyatt is the face.
Yeah.
In WWE logic, Randy Orton is the face. Randy Orton will win because he's Randy Orton. He's a face, and it's the WrestleMania main event. But the face is not the guy who pours gasoline on the other guy's house, shack, whatever, and burns it to the ground, possibly with a cameraman stuck inside because you never see him leave. So this is quite possibly murder. Oh man. So prediction: Orton wins in, I think, a reasonable match. I think these guys can have a good match.
Yeah.
I think they could have a great match with Bray working as the face, though. They won't do that because Bray Wyatt's not a face. And to be honest, I see Bray Wyatt as more of a heel, but I've never, and I will never, buy Randy Orton as a face. This is a case of where kayfabe just can't carry through on how much of a dick we hear on a regular basis that Randy Orton is. It just doesn't work.
There's the difference between you and me, sir. I just won't buy Randy Orton, period.
I can buy him as heel.
I don't. He's boring.
I'm not excited about him as a heel, but I'll buy it.
He's the Viper. He's cold-blooded. Like, is he cold-blooded or is he just having a fucking nap? I can't fucking tell.
It's too cold out. He's falling asleep.
The only time I see any emotion on this guy's face is when he slams his fucking hands into the mat
and dislocates his shoulder.
Yeah. And like 9 or 10 times to announce the fact that he's about to hit the RKO out of nowhere. Jesus.
In fairness, there have been a lot of good RKO out of nowhere spots.
Oh, yeah.
Like, they really have.
There's been a ton. And when you see one done perfect or done even any halfway correct, Randy Orton's got. If there's one thing you can count on Randy Orton, it's to turn that one moment into a holy fucking shit kind of type of scenario. But the rest of it, maybe it's one of those things where like 5 years down the line, I'll be like, oh man, I really didn't appreciate Randy Orton for what he was. But I've seen Randy Orton when he came into the business and nobody gave a shit and he didn't have any personality. And I heard about all of the horror stories in the back because he was a spoiled little pretty boy and shitting in people's handbags. And I continued to watch him throughout his career and continued to have no personality. And when it looked like I know he thinks he looks like he's being furious or just pissed off or intense. If he's looking intense, that's when you know that he's probably having a nap or something, because you can't tell the difference. It's just not good. As far as this match is concerned, I would have Bray Wyatt just retain the title. I would have, my ideal situation is to have one of these RKO out of nowheres. Hopefully that he doesn't announce by drumming the mat with his hands for 9 or 10 minutes beforehand. But I would do a spot where Wyatt does some sort of dive of some sort, and Orton goes for the RKO out of nowhere, and then Wyatt somehow counters it into his sister Abigail. Boom, boom, win, done. Thank you.
I'd
Why
also
would
appreciate like a no sell of the RKO for Bray Wyatt. Like he just does his like spider walk thing after getting RKO'd and be like, "Hey, Andy, how you doing?"
you could do like a quasi Undertaker. He takes the RKO out of nowhere and goes limp, and then Orton kind of is sort of out of it by that point. He just kind of hit the move on reflex, kayfabe, and then he gives him like a 30, 40 seconds and rolls over and maybe tries to get near him to go for the pin, and then boom, spider walk. And then, yeah,
I'd love that.
cool. That would be tight. But yeah, I think Bray Wyatt's been sorely underused. He's over like you wouldn't believe, and needs to continue doing like his cult thing and gather different followers. The followers he's got are, Eric Rowan apparently.
Right now, it's just Eric Rowan.
Eric Rowan. So here's the deal. Here we get a couple of pieces in play here. Randy Orton goes for the title. Whatever happens in the match happens, but you got Brody Lee coming out. What's his WWE name?
Luke Harper.
Luke Harper. Lukey Lee comes out and does his shenanigans because Luke Harper does not have a match on this card. Period.
I suspect he'll be in the Battle Royale.
Not listed. Anyway.
I know he's not listed, but only 3 guys from SmackDown are, so
possibly.
I think he'll be there.
Who knows? But Lukey Lee comes out and he tries to do some shenanigans one way or the other. I suspect against Bray Wyatt, even though he's supposed to hate Randy Orton. And then Eric Rowan shows up and just demolishes some or all people, or maybe a few people. Maybe Randy Orton's had Congress with the Rowan, and perhaps there's some shenanigans there and gets the title. I think Eric Rowan's kind of the key to that one.
I will throw out, actually, we completely forgot that the annual Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royal could potentially have Samoa Joe in it, and and he could win that, but I'd prefer to see Strowman win that.
No, as far as I know, they've booked everybody who's possibly going to be in that match. I think they're holding on to Joe for the Triple H match, who's going to come down and do some shenanigans again, following into my whole maybe even 2/3 of the Shield, followed by later on in the evening 3/3 of the Shield against the Undertaker.
I could dig it, but I wouldn't reform the Shield right now. Someday, but I wouldn't right now. I would reform the club and Triple H's stable, and that's your heel factions.
Yeah,
going forward.
You've got 2 different whole fucking shows. You need heel factions.
Yeah, but 2/3 of the Shield is on Raw, and the other 2 factions are also on Raw, except for Shane McMahon.
Yeah, but they can. There's some shenanigans they can pull. This is pro wrestling, sir.
Yeah, nah.
They don't have to explain it. The Undertaker was supposed to be on SmackDown. That ain't happening.
Undertaker's above brand. Let's just be honest. Undertaker does what Undertaker wants.
So's Roman Reigns.
Vince, you're not concerned about my legacy.
I need Vince to just not exist anymore. I don't think pro wrestling as a whole in North America will get any better until Vince either completely steps down or dies.
The BO Dread MMA show is not responsible for the views of our guest commentator who just said he wants someone to die.
I did not say want or endorse any plan of action that resulted in.
We do not endorse the killing of Vince McMahon.
Just predicting the future. That being said, there are a lot of indie shows that are doing quite well. Apparently, I just heard today that the whole talks of ROH being sold to the WWE is not a thing.
I think last I heard, the talks were like legit, but when you really look at the logistics of the potential deal, it's just not happening.
Yeah, no, apparently some people have talked to some people that have high-level sources. If I was the WWE, if we can go beyond WrestleMania for a second, what I would be doing if I was them and I had this network, quote unquote, I would be doing deals with people to get their tape libraries on my network, I would get all the ROH type tape libraries on my network. I would get FIP. I would get anybody. Fucking PW. Can you imagine if you could go into the WWE network and watch PWG?
I'd be behind it.
Fuck
I'd
yeah!
love me some CZW as well, but that's because I'm a blood crazy idiot.
I would pay money right fucking now. But I'm not paying money to watch WWE shit. God
Yeah,
damn, no.
I mean that's kind of the thing. Is like the only reason I would pay money for it is like to watch the old stuff, and it's like, oh
Yeah.
man, that is a sad indictment on your current product.
Yep.
And NXT,
Yep. Oh yeah.
which come on, Eric Young, Bobby Roode,
Yep.
give me more of that. Nakamura, Asuka. Odie Lorcan's a guy who's actually really, really growing on me.
Yeah, he's doing real well. And well, they're gonna call up. They have to call up the revival soon. They have to call up DIY.
Oh God, yes, call them up. Your tag team division is in desperate need of what DIY and the revival can do. Their matches are so very good.
Exceptional. Authors of Pain, I think, need to stay there for a bit.
I think they need a little seasoning.
But you don't need Gargano and Ciampa to stay down there. You don't need DIY to stay down there anymore. You didn't need they didn't need Nakamura to be down there for any length of time, period. But I think they did.
I would have had Nakamura stay down there just a moment as almost a learn English phase.
Yeah, exactly. Like he needed to familiarize himself with English and get his promos together. Once that happens, he's fine. Other than that, yeah.
Well, but I mean, we've been through this. I mean, did Austin Aries really have to go down to NXT? Did Finn Balor?
No,
did Samoa Joe?
No.
Roddy Strong does. I've always been tremendous on Roddy Strong in the ring, but Roddy Strong elsewhere is there's problems.
I think he can genuinely benefit by being indoctrinated into the new kind of format or style of WWE, as garbage as it is.
Hell, Bobby Roode doesn't need to be down there.
No, he doesn't. But I think Roddy Strong can definitely, the whole Messiah of the Backbreaker thing can be so much more than it was on the indie scene, based on if they give him some time to be down there.
I would just bring in the entire No Remorse Corps. Bring back the No Remorse Corps. Romero, Richards, Strong.
I need that Richards.
Oh yeah. TNA currently basically wasting Davey Richards right now.
Correct.
So stupid.
I think that's all the wrestling that people are going to put up with us from.
Probably. We're up over an hour at this point. So if you liked it, leave a like, leave a comment. If we get good response, we'll do more of this. More rambling. We'll even possibly do some other topics, movies, etc. I could definitely see more of this in the future. So I hope everyone enjoyed it. I hope everyone made it to the end of over an hour of us talking about WrestleMania. Have a good night, everybody. Byron, you have anything to say to the people?
Toro Yano for life.
Derp Club for life. Also, Pentahedron Jr. That is all.